Hey, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com, and in this video we are going to ask the question, maybe answer the question, would you give you a credit card? But before we do that, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you've not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So this is going to be a little bit different kind of video. It's a little bit of a story, but I'm going to try and kind of bring it back to that theme of would you give you a credit card? So I have sort of a friend of a friend who is younger than me, and he's one of those people that likes to do a lot of adventurous stuff. He's probably like 25, 26, 27, somewhere in there, and he likes to travel, but he also likes to actually go and live in different places for, you know, sort of nebulous periods of time, however long he feels like being there, and then he'll get, you know, temporary jobs or, you know, gig work or whatever, things that he can easily find, but then easily get out of as well when he decides that the spirit has sort of moved him to go somewhere else. He's the kind of person you kind of envy, but you also look at and be like, what's this guy going to be doing in 15 years? So I don't know this guy real well, but we have met enough times that we can kind of give each other a hard time because we're very different, or at least probably we seem very different to each other. I think he thinks I'm sort of a corporate traditional guy, married with kids and have a house, talk about personal finance. Probably the only thing interesting to him about me is the fact that I have a YouTube channel and he wouldn't mind some tips on starting his own. So I happened to see him recently and I said, where are you living? And he said, oh, I'm actually back in town. I'm living with my mom, came back during COVID, but I'm thinking about, you know, kind of hitting the road again because things are opening up. And he asked me if I was still doing the credit card stuff, and I said yes. And he said, I would like to get a new credit card. I still got this crappy one since I was 19, but these blood-sucking banks won't ever approve me for anything new. And so I kind of laughed and I said, well, would you give you a credit card? And he didn't really like that very much. He said, well, what does that mean? I pay my bills. Is there some reason I shouldn't be trusted with a credit card? And I said, well, I think you seem pretty trustworthy. I'm not trying to say you're not. I'm just saying, like, you know, even me, I might be a little leery of lending you money in a bank that doesn't even know you at all. Just kind of looking at you on paper, I can see why they would reject your application. And he kind of glared at me, and I was wishing I wasn't in the conversation, but of course I had to continue. So I said, well, I'm just saying you move around a lot. You lived in Ohio and Florida, and then you were Portland, and you're never in one place for more than a year. You have these different kind of jobs that are like gig jobs, or sometimes you're probably getting paid under the table depending on what you're doing. So you don't have, like, from a bank's perspective, you're never at one address for very long. You kind of don't have a lot of income. There's not like a whole lot of stability there. Like, it's good for you and it works for you. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm just saying, like, when the bank looks at it, they see someone low income, yeah, has paid their bills, but we don't even know necessarily where he's going to be if he doesn't pay his bill. Where are we even going to find this guy? And then he continued to kind of give me the stink eye as if I was on the side of the blood-sucking banks. And so we moved on to other topics. But I was glad for the conversation because it gave me the idea for this video, and that is sort of that theme. Would you lend to yourself if you were kind of, seeing yourself on paper? Because sometimes I see in the comments to our other videos, people talking about this or that credit card company and how they had this credit score or whatever, and, they got rejected. And some people are very realistic about their credit history if it's not very good, and they understand why things happen the way they do. But some people are very angry and they feel like the banks are, being really mean to them. And so I kind of wonder sometimes to myself, depending on, what details people leave, well, would you give yourself a credit card? I like the friend of my friend who didn't really like my questioning because he felt like, well, I'm a person that pays my bills. I haven't done anything wrong. There's no reason to reject me. I think there are plenty of people that have some problems in their credit history who can, totally justify those. Maybe there was something in particular that happened that was very short term that caused them not to be able to pay a bill, but they've done really well since then, and they feel like they are still getting rejected, and they feel like the bank is, sort of over punishing them for something that happened in the past when they are in a different place now. But the banks don't know you as a person, they just know you as a list of stats. They know your income, they know your credit history, they know how long you've lived at the place you live in, they know how much you are paying to live there, all of those kind of things. And all they really do is they take all those stats and they compare them to other people that have had similar stats, put you in a sort of bucket, and they say, how have other people in this bucket done when we have given them credit? How often have they defaulted? What kind of credit lines have we given them? And what is sort of the right number in terms of a credit line? And that's how they make their decisions. So if your income is lower or your credit history isn't as good or you move around a lot, those sorts of things, those can work against you. If you have a lot of stability, you've lived in the same place for a long time, you have high income, you don't have any late payments in your history, then obviously you're getting the bigger credit lines and you're getting the easier acceptance. But it's all just really a business. It's nothing personal, but it's easy to take it personal. Now this is sort of a tangent, but stick with me for a minute. So I live in Cleveland, and a long time ago, Bill Belichick used to be the coach of the Cleveland Browns. And if you know football, you know he's a very famous coach and has been for the Patriots, but that's when he was first starting out. And his style that so many people know today, dry, almost devoid of any sort of emotion, rubbed a lot of people the wrong way back then when he wasn't winning a lot of football games. And one of the big things that happened when he first became the coach of the Cleveland Browns was he got rid of Bernie Kosar, who was sort of the beloved starting quarterback, and he put Vinny Testaverde in as the new quarterback, who wasn't anybody that anyone thought was like, a super great quarterback. So there was a lot of emotion around it from the fans, and when Bill Belichick would get asked about it, he would say, sort of in his style that people have become accustomed to now, he would just sort of dryly and without any emotion say, "I can only go by what I see." And no matter what anyone said, he would just say, "I can only go by what I see." So he didn't care about the history. He didn't care about anything other than what he could see and whatever his evaluation was. So it was devoid of any emotion. It was business, not personal. So the major credit card issuers are sort of like Bill Belichick. I can only go by what I see. They don't know you personally. They just look at your numbers and they make a decision. But what's interesting is we are sort of in an era now where there are some of these new fintech startups who are saying, we go by what we see, but we see something different because we are going to look at different things about you. So you have something like the Pedal credit card where they will look at your bank account to see how much money is coming in and how much is going out and how you handle your money and all that kind of stuff. And maybe they will give you credit based on that instead of based on your credit history. So a little bit different decision making. Jasper MasterCard, another one that does something similar, but they are also sort of targeting people that are coming to the US for the first time that don't have a credit history to look at. So they again are looking at, well, what kind of money are you making and how much is going into your bank account and how much is going out, all of that kind of stuff, but they're not really looking at a person's credit history. So these sort of alternatives to the traditional big banks are something that are a little bit newer. Now, obviously, there are plenty of other alternatives out there for people that do have some poor credit history that will give you credit for a little more of a fee and a little higher interest rate and that sort of thing. But some of these new fintech startups are pretty interesting because they are trying to widen the playing field so more people can actually get their hands on credit that maybe wouldn't be able to get it from the big banks. So that is pretty much it, and I know this video has been all over the place, but in our other videos we often talk sort of dryly, or I talk sort of dryly, about credit scoring and the aspects of it and how that corresponds to credit card applications and mortgage applications, things like credit utilization and length of your credit history and number of inquiries, hard or soft inquiries, all this kind of stuff that is a little dry data, but it is really there just to be distilled down into answering two questions, which are, do we trust this person? And if yes, how much do we trust this person? How much of a mortgage loan are we willing to give this person? How much of a credit line are we willing to give on a credit card? All that kind of stuff. So if the dry aspects of credit scoring and how that corresponds to getting a credit card or getting a mortgage loan or an auto loan doesn't really appeal to you, probably the easiest shorthand question is, would I give myself that credit card or would I give myself that mortgage loan or that auto loan? Why or why not? What are the things that are good about me? What are the things that don't look so good about me if I was looking at myself on paper and didn't know myself? What is my income? What has my payment history been? How long have I lived where I live now? Do I move around a lot? How much am I paying in rent or how much am I paying on my mortgage if I already have a mortgage? All those kind of things come into play, but that's sort of, for a lot of us, we could look at ourselves and if we could sort of detach from our emotions, we could probably figure out whether we are sort of a good candidate for certain credit cards or mortgage loans or auto loans, or whether we maybe have some work to do to get ourselves to a place where the bank is going to like the looks of what they see on paper. Questions, comments, suggestions, put them in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com, where we do credit card reviews, talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. Thank you for watching. Bye.